Welcome back to another guitar lesson. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 8 basic chords that I recommend every beginner guitar player get under their fingers first before tackling anything like bar chords or any other more challenging chords. These are the 8 basics that every other one is going to kind of be based around, so they're definitely the ones that you want to learn as soon as possible. So let's jump over to the guitar and we're going to jump straight into this. So our 8 basic chords. Some of them you might know, some of them you might not, but we're going to go over everything as a quick refresher if you have seen some of these before. So chord number 1, the first chord that I teach any beginner is an E minor chord. So the notes in this one are going to be E, G, and B. And the way that it's typically laid out when we're first learning is going to be something like this. Sounds something like this. So for playing this, what we're going to want is our second finger, which is our middle finger on our left hand, as well as our ring finger, which is our third finger. We're going to be placing those in the 2nd fret of the 5th string and the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So we should have something like this. We'd have an open E string, 2nd fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, open G, open B, and open E. So we're playing all 6 strings here, and it should sound something like that. So once again, 0, 2, 2, 0, 0, 0. So that's our E minor chord. Now, if we start with this basis for the E minor chord, we can learn another chord pretty simply by just shifting these notes around just a little bit. So if you take those 2 fingers that are already placed and you lift them up kind of as a group like this. Let me show you how that's kind of going. I just lift them up off the string a little bit and I shift them over to the 4th string and the 3rd string. So if I were to play this, all of the strings open, this isn't the chord we're looking for. It's going to sound pretty cool, but it's a little bit of a different one. But here's what it sounds like just shifting those over. So this is a more advanced chord that we'll look at probably in a future lesson. But if we were to use our first finger, our index finger, and we include that one on the 2nd string, 1st fret, this C note here. And if we play every string except for the low 6th string, so we play 5 strings, so we have the open A, 2nd fret on the D, 2nd fret on the G, 1st fret on the B, and open E string, we get an A minor chord. So that's chord number 2 of the 8 basics. Now, again, just like we did before, where we were kind of like taking something we had before and turning it into something new, we're going to take this exact shape. We're actually not going to change a thing about it, but we're going to do that thing where we lift them all off just a little bit, and we're going to move them down one set of strings. So from the E minor to the A minor, we had to kind of move them up one set of strings to make them kind of higher sounding notes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move them the other way. So we should end up with something like this. Open E, 2nd fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, 1st fret on the G string, open B and open E. And this gives us our E major chord. E, G sharp, and B are the notes in this one. Okay, cool. And remember, just like we talked about in the previous lesson, tips of your fingers. You really want to be on the tips of your fingers for this one to make sure you're not muting any extra notes. If you go to play it and it sounds something like this, and you have some kind of like dead notes like this, go refer back to those 3 steps to great sounding notes on the guitar. I'll link that video in the description as well as in the cards up above. So that's 3 chords of our 8 basics. Next one, we're going to switch back to our A minor. So if you remember how A minor goes, I'll give you a second to grab it. Okay, hopefully you have the A minor there. Should sound something like this. What we're going to do is we're going to leave our 2nd finger and our 1st finger exactly where they are. But our 3rd finger, our ring finger, is going to jump over to the A string, 3rd fret. So it should be landing on this C note here. And this is going to be our C chord. So for this one, we want to avoid playing the 6th string. We're going to play the top 5 strings. So we have C, E, G, C, and E, or 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open G string, 1st fret on the B, and high E open. That's 4. Now, the other ones that we're going to look at aren't going to be quite as similar. So that's usually why I present those 4 first, because they kind of have a lot of relationships to one another. The next 2 are going to be a little bit different. So next chord we're going to look at is the D chord. So notes in this one are D, F sharp, and A. In another future lesson, we'll go over chord construction and how I'm coming up with what these notes are. But for now, just learn the shapes. Okay, so for this one, we're not going to play the 5th string or the 6th string. So these 2 low strings, we're just going to leave them alone for now. So we're going to start with our open D string. Our first finger is going to grab the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. Our 3rd finger is going to grab the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And our 2nd finger, 2nd fret on the 1st string. That's our D chord. Now for this one, we're going to change up a couple of things, but the one that's going to stay the same is this ring finger, the 3rd finger. So we're going to keep that one exactly where it is, and we're going to remove our 1st finger, and where that 1st finger was, I want you to put your 2nd finger. And then your 1st finger is going to go to the 1st fret of the 1st string. So if we strum those top 4 strings, open D, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B, and 1st fret on the high E, that's our D minor chord. All right, only 2 remaining. So to switch over to the A chord, there's going to be some similarities here. The main one is our 2nd finger stays exactly where it is. Our 3rd finger, we're going to slide it down 1 fret, so it's also in the 2nd fret. And then our 1st finger also wants to be in the 2nd fret for this one, instead it's going to be on the 4th string. So this one's a little tricky in that you're going to want to get your fingers kind of really almost laying on top of each other like this. They got to be really squished together. You don't want to get gaps between your fingers. They got to be really, really squished in here. So for this one, we're going to be using 5 strings. Omit the low 6th string. So we have open A, 2nd fret on the D, 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the B, and open high E. And that's our A chord, A, C sharp, and E. And the final chord that we're going to take a look at is our G chord. So for this one, we're not going to use any references. We're just going to build it from scratch. So for this one, 2nd finger is going to grab the 3rd fret on the low 6th string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then we're going to jump all the way to the high E string. There might be a little bit of a stretch. You might feel kind of a stretch between your 2nd and 3rd fingers here. Totally normal, and it'll get easier with time and some practice. So again, 3rd, 2nd, we have a bunch of open strings, so open D, G, and B, and then we have a high 3rd fret, this G note. So this is our G chord. G, B, and D. And those are our 8 chords. So what I want you to do is practice these, get them under your fingers, try and get them memorized. If you can, maybe take a piece of paper and write down all the chords I just gave you. And without any diagrams or anything like that, just have it written down and see if you can sit down and play through all of those chords in order. And then maybe take a different piece of paper and write down those chords in a different order and see if you can memorize exactly how to go through those patterns. Once you've done this, maybe pick up a few songs that have these chords in them. Maybe I'll link a few in the description of some chord charts that you can kind of follow along with and get you started on actually applying some of these chords. But hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe for future videos like this. I plan on releasing a ton of instructional content completely for free. I do have a Patreon, however, if you want to show me some support. I plan on also releasing kind of like a monthly study group on there, if that's something that you're interested in. So take a look at that. I'm also available for personal lessons, one-on-one. So let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I will catch you next time. See you guys later.